What is the Cosmere? So, if you haven't heard of him, Brandon Sanderson is a science fiction and fantasy author, and he's kind of a big deal. Maybe you have heard of him, maybe you've read one of his books, and you've started to hear this term Cosmere being kicked around, and it's not exactly clear what the Cosmere is. There is no book called Cosmere. It is not a novel. It's not a separate story. All the Cosmere is Brandon Sanderson's overarching world in which all his fantasy novels take place within. So his Mistborn series, his Stormlight Archive series, Warbreaker, Elantris, all of those take place in the same universe, just on different planets within that universe. And if you read very closely, you'll notice some characters from one book showing up as cameos in another book. And these characters are known as world hoppers. They can literally go from world to world, from one book series to another book series, and interact between these stories. As Brandon Sanderson has said before, the Cosmere is kind of like the epic story behind all the epic stories. It's the story happening in the background. There are people that show up from time to time, and there's a whole nother backstory going on behind the scenes to all of these worlds where he has stories taking place in. But how can all these series take place in the same universe if they all have vastly different magic systems? Right? So if the laws of physics are different, then how can it be a shared universe? Well, he handles that with many different gods. So in Brandon Sanderson's magic systems, the magic comes from investiture from a specific god. And if all that's getting confusing, let me back it up all the way to the beginning of the Cosmere. Long ago, there was something. We don't know if it was a being or a force, but what we do know is that 16 individuals shattered this force, this being, into 16 different shards of power. And these shards each have a different trait to them. So you have ruin, which is destruction and, well, ruin. And you have cultivation and honor and preservation and all these different characteristics that are individual, that once made up a whole power, but now they are shattered and spread across all these worlds. So some of these planets have one god or two gods that inhabit that world and affect it in some kind of way. And so you have these 16 very different, very unique gods with very different, very unique powers, and all of them have different ways in which they're interacting with the world, and different ways they can invest people with power. Hence, all of your different magic systems. And like I said, it's the epic behind the scenes. So there's a whole story with the shattering of this god, of the 16 individuals that took those shards, of the politics between them, and of the individuals that were there around the time of the breaking of the shards but did not take up any of the shards. And all of that's happening behind the scenes in all these novels that he's released. So if you think, Mistborn being 7 books right now, with more future books planned in the Mistborn series, the Stormlight Archive being planned as a 10-book series, if you think these are long, epic series, no. They're all one big, epic series. And that is what the Cosmere is. It's his epic of epics. So if you are just starting to read either Mistborn or Warbreaker or Stormlight Archive, you are in for a ride, because this is the epic of the epics. And according to Brandon Sanderson's math, we got another 26 years or so until it's all kind of wrapped up. So it's going to take a long time to tell this story in its fullness. So I hope that kind of clears up what the Cosmere is and the concept behind it. And I'll have more in-depth Cosmere lore coming out soon. So if that's kind of stuff that interests you, check out some of my other videos and subscribe so you can see the new upcoming ones I have coming out. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.